So, breaking news out of Afghanistan again, where the Taliban has captured the northern provincial capital of Kunduz in another significant defeat for the for the government, I should say. The Taliban fighters attacked early on Sunday morning and captured the city, battling street by street during hours of intense fighting. Officials and residents in Kunduz are describing total chaos. So in just 3 days, this is what's happened. The regions we've marked in red, their provincial capitals, have fallen to the Taliban. Zaranj in NIMROZ province, Kunduz, which you've just been hearing about. The government hasn't officially confirmed this, but sources tell us the cities have been lost. And those two regions in grey, only the Taliban's claiming to have taken those provincial capitals. That's Sherbirgan in Jazeera province, and now we're hearing about Saripol as well in the next province across. Charlotte Bellis in Kabul to take us through this. Charlotte, I said it yesterday, I think it bears repeating. The speed with which this is happening, now Kunduz, is quite astonishing.
It's happening incredibly quickly. I mean, I talked to the Taliban even a few weeks ago, and they were surprised themselves at how quickly they were gaining territory. It really is taking everyone by surprise about how quickly these provinces are falling. So if I start with Kunduz, this is incredibly significant. We talked to a local journalist who confirmed to us that Kunduz has fallen, that there are Taliban in the police compound and the intelligence compound and the governor's compound and the election commission's office. They've taken the prison, they've released prisoners, and that they're flying the Taliban flag in the centre of the city. The government earlier denied that Kunduz had fallen to the Taliban, but the Ministry of Defence has just put out a statement saying that they are launching a clearing operation of the Taliban in the city to try to push them out. Fighting has been ongoing around the outskirts of Kunduz in recent weeks, but it was this morning where the Taliban pushed into the heart of the city. They came from multiple directions and managed to take it quite swiftly. Now, Kunduz is significant because of its location. It is on the main highway between, if you're trying to go from northeastern Afghanistan into Kabul, you have to go through Kunduz. And if the Taliban have Kunduz, it essentially cuts off northeastern Afghanistan from Kabul. It's also the breadbasket of Afghanistan. In about 2015, 2016, it actually fell to the Taliban, and it's the only city to have fallen to the Taliban in the last 20 years, if you take the last week out of the equation. And then it only came back into government hands because US special forces were deployed and they managed to get the Taliban out. But now US special forces aren't on the ground anymore.
Of course. OK, thanks for those updates. Charlotte Bellis in Kabul. Also in Kabul now, Abdullah Bahir, a lecturer of transitional justice at the American University in Kabul. I don't know if we would say transitional yet, but something's happening, isn't it? And as we were saying with Charlotte there, the speed with which it's happening is extraordinary. But I also wonder, we knew the US and NATO were leaving. Something like this was always going to happen.
So I guess a very important aspect is not to hit the panic button too early. Most of the crises that the world has seen is people freaking out before the fire has actually started. The idea is, yes, these are concerning developments, but this is a story that has happened before. Back in 2001, the Taliban did hold all of this territory. And now it's a much more trained Afghan forces with aerial backing from the United States. So there is hope. It's just that right now it's just taking time for the government to adjust. They have never been under such an offensive before. So it only makes sense for them to lose certain territory only to try and get it back. So let's just see now what the government's reaction is going to be to restore an equilibrium with regard to
So you don't think then this is going to be like a series of dominoes that keep falling? I just, as I say, potentially four provincial capitals in 3 days does kind of feel like a panic situation.
Yeah, so the idea is that even when you panic, sometimes you have to not show your panic, especially not to the enemy. The idea is that there has been a significant change as well with regards to the United States involvement with B-52 bombers involved in two of these provincial capitals. The idea is urban warfare is going to be a bit messy. It's not going to be as clear-cut to take back these territories. But there's hope. I guess the Afghan government just needs a shake-up with regards to the realities on the ground. And once a proper military strategy is put into place, they can start pushing outwards. They have the better equipment. They have the larger forces. They have the better aerial dominance, or the only side that has aerial dominance in the fighting. So hoping this just doesn't replicate throughout Afghanistan. Please realize that the Afghan Defense Forces are overstretched as well. There's a lot of territory that they cannot have all their troops stationed at all times. So I guess now when they plan as to how to take these territories back, we'll have to see what the Afghan Defense Forces are capable of.
Okay. Are there other particular places in Afghanistan right now which you think are particularly vulnerable?
The idea is the trend of the fighting is going to change with the changing weather. Most of the fighting, the Taliban have made it a point to attack areas that they previously were not that strong in 20 years ago. So they try to clear up the north to a great extent. I think they'll start pushing towards the south more and more. With regards to cities like Jalalabad, are going to be really important, because then that cuts off the whole south. If that city falls, Helmand, Lashkargah is already facing very tough fighting. The idea is these are major cities. I guess keeping Herat out of the Taliban's hands was a major win. But these smaller cities, even if they might not mean much, symbolically they matter. The fact that it makes a headline that 4 provincial capitals have fallen in 4 days is problematic. It hits the morale and conviction level of the forces. So let's hope that they start changing their fortunes sooner before more and more territory falls.
Abdullah Bahir is from the American University in Kabul. Thank you so much for your time.